Hello, guys. Welcome back once again. This is day 15 of our CCNA course. So, till now, we have covered static routing. We discussed a little about the static routing in the previous session. Today, we will continue our journey towards the IP routing. So, today, I will just give you the brief of the IP routing. So today we will just have a theory class. We will not go to the packet tracer for the configuration, but just the basic concept of the IP routing, like IP routing table, what is the routing and routed protocols, what is the administrative distance, what is the path cost, what is the distance vector and state. So such type of things we will discuss. So let's just start slowly. So first, I just want to tell you about the IP routing. So what happens actually, let me take one example. Suppose this is router 1. Here we are having one network. Network means that we are having one switch. Here, this is switch. And from that switch, there are multiple hosts connected, right? Multiple computers can be connected. There can be n number of computers. So let me take that this is our network of 10.1.1.0 network. So it means that all the IP addresses in this network will be something ranging from 10.1.1.1 to 10.1.1.255. So this will be one last octet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will be assigned to the host of this type of these hosts like that. Let me take one more network in this complete network. Let me take one network here. Here the same thing will be happening. We will be having one switch here, and then we will be having multiple computers connected from there, right? Multiple computers can be connected, laptops we can create. So n number of, not n number in fact, only because we are having only 255. So just 255 host can, but it can be, we can use 2 networks or 4 networks, but definitely this is network of 10 dot, uh, let me take not 10 dot, let's say this is 30 dot 1 dot 1.0 network. So here IP addresses from ranging from 30.1.1 to 30.1.1.255. Let's take one more network in this area. Let's say suppose this is one more network, and here we are having the network 50.1.1.0. So obviously it can have one computer, and which may have the IP addresses of something like that 50.1.1.5, let's say, because this first network part will be the same. So we have taken the first 3 octets same, and the last octet based on the computer IP address it can change. So here one IP address is in the green one. Let me take the green color once again, and one of the computer IP addresses may have something like that 30.1.1.5. One of the computer will be having in this range, okay, in this network. And here if you talk about the first network, so obviously one of the computer may have the IP address of 10.1.1.5. So if this 10.1.5 wants to communicate, or just for the simplicity, let me just take the example of a ping. If this host, any of, suppose this is our 10.1.5, so if this computer tries to ping 30.1.1.5, what happens? Because if we go to the basic configuration, we have defined the IP address on the computer, right? We have given the IP address first, then we have given the subnet mask. These are the configuration on the computer, subnet mask, and then we give the default gateway, right? These are the things we do it. So we have given the default gateway on this computer. What will be the IP address of the default gateway? That will be IP address assigned here, right? So once it pings, what will happen? It will just, this computer checks, and this IP address, or in fact this packet, does not belong to the same network, so this will be forwarded to the default gateway. So it reaches to the default gateway. Now what is happening, our IP packet has reached from here to there, right? It has originated, it just realizes our switch that this packet is going to the different network, or in fact the computer decides that this packet belongs to the different network, it sends to the default gateway. So now the packet has arrived on this default gateway. Now this R1 router 1 has to take decision where this packet has to go, whether it is going to towards R2 router 2, or it has to travel towards router 3. So if it wants to reach this 30.1.5, that is our target, right? Let me write it here as well. It is trying to ping 30.1.1.5. That's the target destination address. So if it is trying to ping, so can we reach via R2 this 30.1.1.5? So obviously we have one path like this one, right? We have this path like this one, and we have one more path like this. We have one more path like this. If this, so we have multiple paths. So where this router 1 has to send. But the first and very important part, that how this router 1 will know that this 30.1.5 is connected via R2 and R3. It might be the case that it is not connected via R2, right? It can be. Suppose the scenario is like that. Let me clear it a little, because I have done sort of things here. This is as well okay, and this is fine. So before the router 1 takes decision about the 30.1.1.5, that router 1 should know that it is connected via R2 or connected via R3, or it might be the case that 30.1.5 is not connected to the any of the router. It might be the case that it is not connected to the R2 and R3. So how this knows that this network is connected via which of the router? And this thing is done via the routing table. Via routing table. So every router is having one routing table. Okay. So in the routing table, what informations are available? Let's see. So first and very important part, it is having that destination address, destination. And this routing table is of every router. So this is, I'm just creating the routing table of the router 1 right now. So destination, what is the destination? And if that destination is found, then forward to which of the router, next hop, or we can say the towards which router. So suppose we have one entry here. Let's say we are having one entry here, 30.1.1. something, whatever 30.1.1 something. Then next hop, if the packet comes to the router 1 with this prefix 30.1.1, then please send it to the R2, because R2 is connected to the 30.1.5. Obviously, we have to create this routing tables, or we will use some automatic ways to create this table. But every router is having this routing table. Based on that one only, it is taking the decision. So right now I have taken only one entry. I have not provided information to the router 1 that this 30.1.5 is reachable via router 3 as well. So I have made one entry on the router 1 about the routing table. And similarly, it will be having one information on the router 2. This is router 2 routing table. And in that case, it will be having destination, and we can say towards or the next hop. Then it will be having 30.1. something, or we can say 0. And when any packets comes for this network, then please send it to the R7 or the IP address of the R7 interface. So we can assign the IP address of this interface, and that we can give on that one routing table. So normally both the things work. Either you can say the interface of that router, or you can write the, not write in fact, because you do not write it, there are some commands to do that one, so we will learn those commands, but just learn the basic concepts as now. That's how it taking the decision. So now based on this routing table, this packet has been forwarded to the router 7, and now this router 7 will be having its own routing table, and now this will check its routing table. This is for the R7, and it will check 30.1.1.0. Please send it to the R6. Now this packet has been reached to our R6, and R6 will be having own routing table, and it just checks, oh, 30.1.6 is connected directly, or it is my network. So it will send towards this interface. It will send towards that interface IP, or if the computers are connected directly from, there is a no switch, so obviously they will be communicating from this router interface, so they will communicate directly, and the packet will send to the our required IP address 30.1.1.5. So this is just concept of routing table, that if the router does not know where to forward the packet, it cannot forward the packet. So this is just the basic concept of our routing. Okay, so let me clear once again now. So I just want to explain you again that what I am doing, so that you can learn very well, right? Like this one. So let me take the example of a packet. Let me take the black color this time, or black. Yeah, black should be fine. So now our packet reached to router 1, this some packet. Okay, and this packet is being checked via R1, and it checks the destination address. Okay, this destination address is having of 30.1.1, it will be forwarded to the R2. R2 checks its own routing table, and it checks that whenever that okay, this is belonging to the 30.1.0 network, and for that one I have information that that is connected via R7, router 7, so it will forward that packet to the router 7. Now the packet arrives to router 7. Router 7 looks the IP packet and checks the destination address, and is find out, okay, this destination address is connected via router 6, so it forwards that IP packet to the router 6, and router 6 knows that, okay, yes, all these 30.1.1.0 network is directly connected to me, and I can send that packet to that uh, related host. The same thing may happen. So we have to give the information in the routing table. Suppose right now we don't have any information about the 50.1.0 in the network, and if any of the computer tries to ping 50.1.1.5, then what will happen? It will, the router will reply to the requester that destination host unreachable, because it does not know the route to reach this destination. Although the communication path is okay, they are connected via fiber or LAN cable, or in fact the RJ Ethernet cable, they are connected very fine, but router does not know the path to reach that destination, so it will simply deny the requester, sorry, I don't know the route, so I cannot send that packet to the destination. So this is the concept of IP routing. So let me just, yeah, this is just IP header, right? I just was discussing about the IP packet. So in the IP packet, there are very important fields, that source IP address and the destination IP address. So if you go to the previous one, so that's how the packet travels, right? So the packet travels to this router, and it checks the destination address and the source address. Source address is not required, it just takes it for the reference, because whenever source address is important, when it will send the ping reply, right? If you ping it, the ping response will go to this direction, and when this reply, it will send a reply, then it will use the source address, that who has requested that one, so that source will be converted to the destination, and this time it will reach to the requester, and it will get the reply. So these are the two important parts of the IP packet: source IP address and the destination IP address. And the source IP address and destination IP address never change in the IP packet. never change. It does not matter that how many hops it has traveled, but they will never change. They will always be fixed destination IP address and source IP address. Every router will look on to this destination IP address. It will forward to the corresponding router. Again, that router will look on to that destination IP address. It will forward to again the next router. Again, the next router will look onto the IP address. They will keep reading that IP address, but nobody will change it based on that. It's like a postal system. We can take a very good example of the postal system. Suppose you are sending any of the uh, mail ID, right? You have just sending an envelope. You write a letter, right? If you write a letter, and that later you have sent it to one address. So how it will goes reaches? Firstly, it will go to the post office, right? In the letter, you will write the address, right? So that address works as a destination IP address. So that will never change. Every postal system is reached to the local post office first, local post office, and after local post office, it may reach to the some district level post office, and that district level post office checks that address, or we can say the pin code, right? That is having the pin code. It will check that which state it belongs to. It goes to that state if it of the same country, or in fact the same state. Let's suppose this is our same state. Then that state will decide, okay, this is belonging to some different district. It will go to that district head post office, and then head post office will have a look on the address, and it will send to the corresponding local post office. At that local post office will be having that address in their area, and they will deliver that later. So the same thing is happening with the IP packet. Every router is looking at the destination address and just forwarding the IP packet. Same thing is happening in the postal system. Every post office is reading the address and just sending towards the correct address. So it is very similar to our postal system. Same thing works our destination, the IP routing. But the most important part is that destination address and the source address, they never change. So we discussed a lot about our routing, but obviously just don't skip the concept of switching, right? Why I just included this one, because most of the teachers doesn't teach is when they teach you MAC address and all things, they do not incorporate with the IP addressing. So you always get confused that how MAC address table works and how IP routing table works. So that's why I have it included and taken the clear difference between both of them, so that you can understand, right? So let's suppose this is our network 1, and here we are having the switch 1, and from switch 1 we are having connected the 3 computers, right? And this is one more computer here. This is network 1. We are having one more network here. Suppose this is one more network. Here we are having one switch, another switch, and there also there are some computers connected, right? It is having IP of 10.1.1.1. This is .2. This is .3. Let's suppose this is 20.1.1. This is 20.1.2. This is 20.1.1.3. Okay, so these are the IP addresses. Now let us suppose our network 1 tries to communicate with network 2. This is network 2. So what happens in that case? Suppose 20.1.1 is pinging to 10.1.1. That IP packet will reach to because this is belonging to the different network. It will go to the default router first. This is the default router, default gateway. So it will reach the default router, that is router 1. And if router 1 is having the routing entry of in the routing table regarding 10.1.1, it will send to the R2 and then R7, and then the IP packet will be delivered, right? So this is very important, that this is a routing table, and this routing table is being created by us. So either it can be used static routing, or we have make a manual entry for this routing table, or we can use the automatic system to fill this routing table or make the network aware of the routes that which are connected to the our network. Suppose we are having one more network here, so if you are running the automatic routing protocols, then it will be updated automatically in the routing tables. All the routers will be having the routing tables. But if this 20.1.1 wants to communicate with the 20.1.1.2, then what happens? Because they are in the same network, in that case the MAC address table comes in the picture. Because they are in the same network, so obviously it goes to the switch, and now switch checks its MAC address table, that where this dot 2 is connected. It knows that okay, it is connected to the port number 2, and it sends that packet. So this is done based on the address resolution of protocol ARP, right? So the same thing is also ARP is also used in the routing table, but here the MAC address table is just used to reach the default gateway. Here also we use the MAC address table, and we know that this default gateway is connected via port number 10. I'm just taking these random port numbers, do not confuse. So if this is connected on port number 10, then it will be connected, forwarded to the port number 10, right? So if the default gateway is connected on port number 10, it will be sent towards this one. And if it is on sending towards the dot 2, then it will send towards the port number 2. So this is the concept of the MAC address table, means that MAC address table is used by switches, and we do not do any manual configuration or any routing protocol for that purpose. Nothing. We do not do anything. This is the default thing, and it is done automatically always. We do not do anything for creation of the MAC address table. While we, for the routing tables, either we run routing protocols like OSPF, EIGRP, RIP, BGP. So these are the routing protocols. That's what we use. Or if we do not want to run these routing protocols, then you can make a manual entry use that is called the static routes, that you can do, and the routing table will be updated. Clear? So I hope this is quite clear, the difference between the MAC address table and the routing table. Let's move ahead. So these are the basic IP routing function. What actually this IP routing protocols does, right? So before that IP routing tables, let me just tell you that what are the routed protocols and the IP routing protocols. So routed protocols are used to deliver IP packet. The function of routed protocol is to deliver IP packets, and that is being done via the protocol, internet protocol. We can say IPv4 or IPv6, right? We study that TCP IP. So that's the job of the TCP IP. So that internet protocol, that is a routed protocol, and the job of the IP is to deliver the packet from the one network to another network based on the different routers. Now, if that packet has to be delivered, then each router should be aware of the routes, right? If it does not know where it is connected, it cannot send the packet. So that creation of these routing tables is done via routing protocols. So these routing protocols are just used to create routing table or routing entry. Routing entry is the better word. routing entry, because table is once created and just based on the different scenarios, these entries are getting populated, deleted or added, right? So example of these protocols are, first one is RIP, next one you can say EIGRP. EIGRP used to be a Cisco proprietary, but now it is available for the public use, but still most of the vendors are not using EIGRP. Then we are having the OSPF, Open Shortest Fast First. We are having the ISIS as well. We have BGP. So these are the protocols we used normally for the creation or updation of our routing table. And obviously in the routing entry, we are having the static or dynamic. So static is just manual entry, and for the dynamic, we are having these many of the protocols that used for the dynamic routing. So these number of protocols you can use as a dynamic routing. And static routes means what we just learned on the previous session. We just use the command IP route and make the prefix or destination. And after that one, we give some space and give an IP addresses where you want to send, or we can say the next hop. So that is an static routing. We can say static routing, right? So that is happening. So what are these routing protocols are doing? Let's have a look on that one. So the first job of the routing protocols is dynamically learn the routes. So whenever any of the we are having some different routers, these are, suppose these are the routers here connected, okay, and if any of the network is connected via this router, so this information will be updated via different flooding mechanism to all the routers that this new network, let's suppose 50.1.0, has been added to on the router, this specific router, right? So this information will be flooded to all of the routers. Now all the routers are aware that this 50.1.0 is connected via this router. Whenever anyone is getting this any info ping request or any communication request for that IP, then please forward that packet towards this one. So this is the done dynamically learn the routes. And if you are using the static routes, then if any of the new network comes in your router, you have to manually define that static routes in all of the network. So that is a little tedious job and we don't prefer that one. So that's why there is a concept of dynamic routes. And next thing is put the best route in the routing table. So this is a another important function I want to explain you, because whenever we are running our any routing protocols, what it does, it collects all the routes, collects all routes to the destination, all routes to destination. It has an entry for, or in fact the table of all the destination routes, while whatever are the best depends on the different criterias. We will learn that what are the different criterias to make them best, but only the best routes, it can be based on the speed of the link, or it can be the how many hops it is away. So based on the different criterias, it selects the best path. Only the best path is inserted in routing table, right? Because why only best is inserted in the routing table? Because router has to take decision based on the routing table only. So whatever is the best route toward that prefix or destination, this one, so that will be towards that router will be the packet will be forwarded. So let's suppose any request is coming from this router towards 50.1.5, let's suppose. So what is happening, there are two ways, right? There is the one way and another is this way. So where it will forward this directly on this interface. It can forward, it has one alternate route, this one, but that will not come in the routing table. Only this route will come to the routing table, and this router will send towards this interface and directly communicates towards the 5.1.1.5. Another job is to remove non-valid routes from the table. So if any of the, suppose this was added and after some time it is removed by any of the mean, that switch damaged or this cable disconnected, so in that case we have to remove that entry from the table, right? Because that is route is not valid anymore. So we have to, our routing protocols are also responsible to remove that non-valid route. Another job is to replace removed routes is possible. So it may happen the case that only this network is available, this is available, but only this hop is down. If that hop is down, so that route is not available, but we are having the another route available this time. So immediately it will make an IP entry in the routing table towards this alternate paths. Now this has become the best path because this is the only available path. So this will be treated as a best path, although it will be very long and it can be the slow as well. But right now it is the only optimal solution possible to deliver the packet. So what we can do, we have some problem, but still there is some chances to deliver the packet. So we'll take that as an option and we will take the best as this path. And another job is to prevent routing loops. Prevent routing loops means that is also responsible to if any this prefix information is reaching via multiple paths, so that is also avoided by the routing loops. So these are the very important routing functions. Based on these one only, our whole networking depends. There's nothing in the networking without IP routing protocols. So whatever we'll be doing, we'll be just learning different routing protocols, learning routing protocols only. There's nothing else we are going to do in the whole networking. We will just keep deep diving on the different routing protocols like RIP, although RIP is not used anymore. So basically you will be using the highly used is OSPF, and then some of the customers are also using ISIS because they are similar protocols and the working functionality of both of them is also similar. So some of the operators prefer OSPF, some of them prefer ISIS. Then as I told, EIGRP, that used to be a Cisco propriety, I think up to 2013, and after that one it has been made as an open standard, but still most of the companies are not using the EIGRP. But still some of the companies are using, like Netflix is still using this EIGRP. So it depends. Some of the companies are using EIGRP. And one more thing I forgot to tell you, that is because there is a concept of IGP, internal routing protocols, and the external routing protocols. External routing protocols. So internal routing protocols means that will be running in your same network, because you are having one single network. Single network we cannot say, because single network you might be thinking of that only switch, how can we run? So internal networks mean that they are running on the same autonomous system. Autonomous systems means the routers, they are owned by the same company, or we can say the less number of the routes. Wherever the number of routing information is less, then we use the internal routing protocols. So internal routing protocols are these: OSPF, RIP, ISIS, and EIGRP. And there is external routing protocols, exterior gateway, exterior also we say, interior and exterior, but external routing protocols. And that is the only one that we use nowadays, that is called BGP. That is a border gateway protocols. So whenever there is a communication possible between the, suppose you want to make communication between Airtel and Vodafone, because they are two different entities. So they will be running on the different AS numbers. Suppose this is AS 100 and this is AS 200. So communication between these two are possible using only BGP. So for that case, we are using the BGP, that is called the Border Gateway Protocols. Okay, so that is the basic brief of the IP routing uh, functions or protocols. And next job is just to learn the OSPF, RIP and all. So, but meanwhile, just discuss some more concept of this IP routing. Okay, so this is it, and where I'm going. Okay, this is so. Yes, this is just another concept of the distance vector and the link state. Because in the before some time I just told you that before making an entry in the routing table, it checks that which path is best, right? Only the best path is being entered in the routing table. So how this best path works, how it can be best. So let us suppose, let me change the color. Blue is not looking good here. So let us suppose this is one network here. This is network 1 and another network. This is another network, network 2. Or for the simplicity, we can say this was computer 1. Okay, let's take a network 1. So if suppose network 1 computer wants to communicate to network 2, right? So we are having two paths. This is one path and we are having one alternate path like this one. This is path number 2. Which one do you think that is being preferred? Obviously, if you see directly, that is, you will see, say, okay, this is shortest, so I will prefer 1. Obviously, for I will also choose the path 1, but actually it depends on the conditions. You choose, or you anyone try to choose path 1, but sometimes what is happening that these links are having the speed of only 1 Mbps. This is also having the 1 Mbps, or in fact it can be that this is 64 kbps. This is 1 Mbps and this is 64 kbps. While if you talk about these links, this is 1 Gbps, this is 100 Gbps, and this is also 1 Gbps, right? So if you talk about the speed, then this path 2 is faster than the path 1. So obviously we should choose path 2 in that case, right? I should say that we can choose the path 2. So this is just the concept of the distance vector and the link state. So whenever we are choosing the path hop count, whenever we are talking about the hop count, that how many hops the destination is away, that is our distance vector. That is our distance. That it depending on the distance, how much distance the target router is having. So that is a distance vector protocols. So there are some distance vector protocols, and some are the link state protocols. Link state routing protocol. So the distance route vector routing protocol is RIP. So means that if you have, or if you are running the RIP routing protocol, then it will choose this path 1 as the best path, and it will make an entry in the routing table and it will forward packets to other path 1. While if you run the OSPF or ISIS, both are the link state routing protocol, they will check the path cost, that what is the speed of the links. Based on that one, they will take the decision and they will prefer the path number 2 because they are having the better speed, they're having the better path cost. You might be thinking that what is this path cost, right? I'm again taking this name once again and again, cost. So this path cost is actually the division, we can say the path formula to calculate the cost is equals to 10 to the power 7 divided by the bandwidth in bit per second. bits per second. Okay, so if we take any of the link of 100 mbps, let's take the first 10 mbps. So 10 to the power 7 and 10 mbps. 10 mbps means 10 into 10 to the power 6. So it can have, I think I have done something wrong, 10 mbps, because it should be, because this is the correct table. Whenever we are having the 10 mbps link, then it is having the path cost as the 100. Okay, and whenever we are having the fast ethernet, that is 100 mbps, then it is the, oh yeah, I remember, this is the old methodology what I'm telling you, and it was till the time when we are using the fast ethernet, when we used to have the fast ethernet up to the 100 mbps only, right? But as the we are having the optical fiber and we are having very high speed, then we have to change this according to the IEEE 802.1d, and based on that one the path cost has been assigned. The IEEE has given the path, and whenever we is having the any link which is having the 4 mbps, then it will be having the path cost of 250. If the link is 10 mbps, then it will be having the path cost of 100. If it is 16 mbps, it will be path cost of 62. It is having 10 gbps, then it will be having a path of cost of 2. So if you just have a look that whenever we are having the increasing the bandwidth, our this value is decreasing, right? The this path cost is decreasing. We can say that this is increasing in this way and the bandwidth is increasing in this way. So they are vice versa. The higher the bandwidth, lower the cost. So if you go to the previous one, so based on the path cost, they will take the decision. And 1 Gbps will be having the lower path cost, and that will be preferred by the OSPF, lower path cost, and that will be chosen by the OSPF or ISIS. You might be thinking, what about the EIGRP? So EIGRP is using the combination of both distance vector and the link state routing protocol. So we can say that EIGRP is better because it takes the consideration in both of them, but sometimes we have to use only link state routing protocol. So it just depends on the requirement of the customer or the scenarios of our networking that we choose whether we have to use distance vector routing protocol or the link state routing protocols, or even we can just use a static entry. But static entry is just little tedious because we have to do manual entry in all the cases. Next thing is our route summary. So route summary is being used whenever our router is little cheap. Little cheap, right? Cheap means that we have taken the low end routers. Low end router means they are having the low RAM, low memory. They cannot handle lot of routes in their routing table, right? They are having the less storage capacity. So in that case, what is happening? We are using our route summarization. Let's try to understand with this example. Let us suppose there are 4 networks connected via this router. Let us take this router. There are 4 networks connected via this one. So if we talk about the routing table of this router, what will be happening? We will be having, suppose all these are connected towards this interface, we can say 1/2. So we are having one entry like this one, destination, and the next stop. So we'll be having one entry like this 10.10.1.0, or let's take one more router here. And if any of the traffic is coming from this direction, and if he wants to send the traffic, then obviously he has to send in this one towards router 1 interface 1/2. Let's take interface here as well 1/2. So we are having one entry in this one, that just please forward to 1/2. There is one more entry on this one 10.2.0. Please forward that one to 1/2. If we are having one more network, if you are coming any package to our 10.3.0 network, please send it to 1/2. if you are having any packet for 10.10.4.0, then please send it to 1 by 2. If you observe that there is just replicating, right? All are having the same next hop, but we having the 4 entries in the routing table. So rather than having the multiple entries, we can summarize this one in this way. We can say to the routing table, whenever you are having any entry for 10.10.0.0, means that this, if it matches to 10.10, then please send it to 1/2. You see that this part is summarized as a 0 network, that when all the packets towards 10.10.0.0, please send it to 1 by 2. We have just one entry rather than having the 4 entry. So this is saving our the memory of the routers and also the lookup in the routing table. So this is called the route summarization. We summarized 4 routes in just a single route like this one. Okay, so we are having some manual route summarization, automatic route summarization. So as we go more, we will keep learning these things. Don't worry for that one. Next thing is our administrative distance. Till now we discussed RIP as a routing protocol which can create a routing table. We have OSPF which can create routing table. We have ISIS which can create a routing table. We can create a routing entry. We have which is called EIGRP as well as a routing table, right? We can have BGP as well, which can create an entry in the routing table, right? So these many of the routing protocols are available. So we can choose any of them, but sometimes what is required that we run multiple of them, or any of mischievous guy, he's very naughty and he just run suppose these 3. Then how router will decide that which one is the best or not best, in fact, to which one to choose the packet. So obviously, in order to sort out this problem, we are having the concept of the administrative distance. We are having this priority type of thing, which just tells that whenever you are having such type of scenarios that we have multiple route protocols running, then please use the administrative distance. Always lower AD value, administrative distance value, AD value is preferred. AD value is lower, AD value is preferred. So if your any router is having entry from the different routing protocols, you're running OSPF. Let's take for 2 routing protocols. Let's take the OSPF as well as the EIGRP. Okay, if you are running 2 protocols, obviously you will be having one entry from the OSPF, and for every route you will be having some information about the AD value as well. So if you are getting the routes from the OSPF, then you will be having the AD value of 110, right? 110 for the routing table entry. We have one more entry for the EIGRP, and for internal EIGRP we are having the entry of 90. So we are having one entry of a 90. So this is EIGRP and this is OSPF. So whenever we are having 2 entries for the same routes, we will prefer the lower AD value. It means that we will prefer the routes collected from the EIGRP. So this is the standard AD values of the different routing protocols. Whenever we are running multiple routing protocols, we always, not we, in fact, the router selects the lower AD value information as the good information, and that is being entered in the routing table. Okay, so just for information, connected interfaces are having 0, static route R1. Whenever we are giving any static route manual entry, that is having very high priority, or in fact the very low AD value. So they will always be preferred if you have manually entered any of the path. Means that any information collected via all the routing protocols and you have manually given any of the route information, so what you have given manually, that will be preferred too much, because that is having the just is the AD value of 1. So these are the values. You can just have a look, not a problem. You can pause the video and just have a look. I think, yes, that is a very important thing, although not important, but just to know you. This is the convergence time. You can read the scenarios, but let me take one example here. Let us suppose this is the scenario. You are having one computer here directly connected, and you are having one more computer connected here like this one. Both are computer 1 and computer 2 are communicated. You are running any of the routing protocols, okay, and that routing protocol is having entry from the R1 to R2, right? It has, because they shorted past, it might be having the good bandwidth as well. So it is communicating directly from R1 to R2, means that it is having the communication like this one, and we are having the routing table entry according to that. Suddenly what happens that this link fails. So if that link fails, so obviously this router is having an alternate path, this one. So it will take some time to update this routing table entry and forward that packet towards in the alternate path. So this uh, breaking of the link and recovery of the our network, that is called as a convergence. So convergence is the state of a set of routers that have the same topological information about the internet network in which they operate. So this is little complicated. I have just copied it from the Google, so it is little complicated, but just simply understand the convergence is like whenever earlier it was communicating, these two, computer 1 and 2 were communicating, now this link is failed and again they recovered the same condition and they are communicating again. That is called convergence, that we are getting the same condition what it was before, and the time taken to get that communication back, that is called the convergence time. So I will be using, not I will be using, so sometimes it is asked in the interviews that what is this convergence and convergence, what is the convergence time. People also ask that why low convergence time is preferred. If you talk about the STP, I discussed that the convergence time in the STP is quite higher, so that's why we switch to the rapid spanning tree, that is RSTP. So the convergence time of the RSTP is quite faster. So that's how we use this terminology. That's it. Okay. So let's see if you have something. Oh no, that's it. So that's it for the day. That was totally theoretical class. You might have felt so bored. I'm really sorry for that one, but this is really good information, because if I don't tell you these information, basic things, I keep on running the configuration on the packet tracer or any other tools on the router. You do not understand what I'm teaching actually, and you don't know the terminology. So it was very important to understand these things first. If you have any doubts, you can send me message on this Instagram ID, Saranush Shukla, or you can also ask doubts writing in the comment section, because I read all the comments. So obviously, as you ask the questions, I will reply your questions. Okay. So you have two ways to ask the questions, and yeah, I think there's two ways you can do that one. Okay, guys, thank you. And next in the next session, I will try to take the session on the OSPF, because static route configuration we have covered. So okay, till that, bye bye. See you soon.